Okay, remember the last time you seen this field behind us, the weeds were 6 feet tall. That power plant went south on us, but that's not all that bad, because you still got time to come back in with the fall annual, and that's what we're doing today. We're trying to reach the group to plow this under. And when you're plowing it under, you want to get total coverage. Turning that green under, that gives you your green manure effect plus your organic matter. A rototiller a lot of times just stirs it around and brings it right back up and tangles it around the rototiller shaft. Once you would get it in this short phase, then if you rototillered it, you'd be fine. But I don't like to run a rototiller on it because basically it's just beating those weeds up and they're just going around and around. This, you can see when I plow, will be total 99% covered up. Okay, now you can see the green residue out in front of us. It will show how it goes out behind the plow. To get total coverage and the furrow, cut out of the furrow right there. Anyhow, you can see it going under. Now, you can see the back furrow. It's almost, my boot's 12 inches. My boot's 12 inches. You got about 10 to 12 inches of tilled dirt. Very seldom will you ever get that with a rototiller, especially the ones that they put out to low horsepower. That's why the moldboard plow was so efficient about turning the soils over. Those things that go on the back of a ATV that run around on top and leave all the residue, your residue just like this is still on top, to me, well, I'll keep my opinions to myself and I'll let you figure out what I think about them. But here's the furrow. Yeah, you can buy a tractor. Yeah, you can buy a plow. People riding around on $10,000 ATVs and driving $50,000 Silverados and going out and seeing how fast they can till the dirt. Ain't cutting it, boys. I tell you that right now. See that plow? That's up to the coulter on it. That's how it should be. You'll get maximum amount of coverage, maximum amount of soil preparation. You can pick a tractor up at an auction fairly cheap. Then you'll have a real tool. But that's what we're going from here. That was at one time, you can still see that lone velvet leaf out there, to here. And we're going to grow a new crop on it. So all's not at a loss if you have a summertime annual go south on you, because you can always come back in with a fall annual. And you'll notice the burnt down, we burnt this down. Some of this stuff regerminated, but we'll plow it in deep and get the soil preparation done. So soil preparation, number one in your arsenal of food plotting. The more you can do, the better off you're going to get a seed bed. And that's just, it's always been that way. It's nothing new. Yeah, I've noticed recently on the Facebook activity that a lot of people here in the Midwest are planting their fall annuals way too early. They don't understand the dynamics. If you plant a seed, shallow seed, which most of your planting is an annual, and it germinates like grass will, and then you get an exceptionally dry August, that'll kill that root, just as if it would winter kill, where the frost would burn it off, winter burn. Same way, if you run out of moisture, which you're taking a risk in August. August is the make or break month. But you're starting in July, it's still hot, still got a lot of dry weather. What you want to be doing in July is getting your fields ready, so that when you get the opportunity time, then you've got all the heavy tillage done. If you plant too early and your root system dies off because it's real shallow, and if it doesn't keep getting water, it'll die, but the weeds will thrive because the weeds will have a lot longer taproot. So it's just like grass. The state recommends any seeding for the highways and stuff is between August 15th through September 15th. And remember, you're planting a fall annual. You want that to come on when you're in the field, more so if you're hunting over it. And October 1st, you know, you got October, November, you got all October to grow it, you got September, so you got 60 days to get that annual up there. But if you get ahead of yourself in July, your crop can die. Because if it turns south on the moisture, then it'll just burn off. The root will burn off and the weeds will thrive. I'll pan around here. You can see where the Roundup did its job, got everything burnt down. Nice thing about that, the weed residue ain't heavy and you didn't have to till it. And if you'd have tilled it, then it would have been susceptible to erosion. Or when you do it with the Roundup, it kills the root system but still has ground cover. Now here's an important point here. When we started these food plots back in here, they were pure timber. And I spent a lot of time gleaning the stumps out. I just didn't saw them off the ground. Now, I benefit from that time. When I come up here through with my plow, I can leisurely plow. I don't have tree stumps to run into. The reason I'm addressing that is I see some people sawing trees off. They're doing minimal amount of tillage, and eventually you're going to get caught up on one of those tree stumps and it's going to break your tillage equipment. Get them out of there. If you got to go rent a skid steer, hire a band with a dozer, you're going to do a field there. Get those tree stumps out of there. When you see me come up through this plow, it's just plowing pure dirt now. Me and Deb spent hours gleaning this dirt, getting the roots and the stumps out. Nobody said food plotting was easy. It's a lot of hard work, but the results are going to be measured on how much you put into it. So as you watch this tractor come up through here, you'll see it plowing effortlessly, and I want to pan around here and show you exactly what it would have been plowing into when we cleared this off. Right here is exactly what the timber looked like. Trees of all shapes and sizes. Had I sawed those trees off, the stumps would have been there and you'd have never been able to plow without hitting them every time. And when you do that minimal amount of tillage, you're not breaking up the compaction over the years, so your root system's under a lot of stress. So let's watch how this plow comes up through here, and you'll see my payment for doing my labor of gleaning those stumps out in the previous years. Well, I hope that showed you how fast and efficient that plow will plow once you've taken those stumps out. Now let's walk over here. I want to go over a couple things with you. There, now that gives you an idea, that iced tea can, how deep that furrow is. That's really turning it over, breaking up the compaction. Even though you haven't driven on it back here, the rain beats it down and it'll get hard on you and put your root system under stress. That light tillage equipment on these ATVs, if that's all you got, I understand, but try to advance your program. Get a little bigger tillage equipment Doesn't cost that much. I know you can buy a tractor, a plow, and all that for some prices. And some of these zero-turn mowers are $10,000, $15,000. Well, you buy a tractor, you can plow that deep. As you notice, these plots up here are somewhat narrow. That's if you were going to hunt them, you're not having to shoot from here to the next county just because you can see the deer. Plus, it gives them a feeling of seclusiveness. But I want to show you a problem. This is an island of undisturbed cover. The problem is the food plots are right here. It's up on a ridge. It's cool in there. As you can see, it's shaded up, security. The only problem with that is if you was to be hunting here, the deer could be bedded right there in that plot, or in that little area. It's probably, I don't know, 1/8 of an acre or less, but it's enough for the deer to bed in. All they got to do is get up, walk over here and get something to eat. Down this hill over here to my right, the creek usually has water in it. They're up on the high spot, bedded up high. In the future, I plan on taking more of that out. There are some nice oak trees in there. That's why it's not taken out right now. But you want to make sure when you make the food plot, you don't have a bedding ground in it, because it's almost unhuntable if that's your goal. Because if the deer is in there and you try to get in here, it's bedded right at the food source. So that can create a problem. So when you're designing your food plots, make sure you don't have it. You got bedding areas on both sides, but when you put one right in the middle, that can cause you more, especially if your main interest is the hunting on that plot. Fortunately, my main interest on this food plot is doing what I'm doing today, going over things with you, helping some of you new guys get started. But just keep in mind, that may look cool, that seclusion in this little island, but if the deer bed there up on top of this ridge, pretty hard to get in here. You can see how that branches off going that way, branches off going that way. That creates that island. You know, wise old buck could lay in there. He's got all the food and you don't even have to walk 50 feet. So something to think about when you're designing them. But the other main thing is I want to get across to you is get those tree stumps out so you can really, when it comes time to do your tillage, you're not fighting them every year. Because sooner or later, you're going to hit them. It's going to screw your whole day up. And, you know, a little extra work on the front end will pay dividends in the long run. So let's get this thing plowed up. I say this opens up into a wide area out here. But there again, here's part of that island. And it's actually an island because food's all the way around it. But you could see what the problem could be if they're bedding in there and feeding in here. Good luck hunting that. Now, another thing when you're tilling your dirt, you can do what they call a ribbon test. If you can roll that dirt between your hands and it falls apart, that's perfect moisture. Now, the ribbon test would be, let me pour a little tea here. I'll get a little moisture on that same dirt. Get that soaked up in there. Now, the ribbon test is right here. If you take and you can make a ribbon or elongated dog turd out of what you're doing, it's called a ribbon test, by the way. If your dirt's doing that, it's too wet. You don't want to be doing that. It's got too much moisture in it, or too much clay. And fortunately, this is the same dirt in this hand. It's got the right amount of moisture. Wet, but does not make elongated ribbon. That way you know if your dirt's doing that, you're in an area that you can get off and roll that dirt out like that. That's a ribbon test right there. Way too much moisture. Wait for another day. Well, if you're like my little grandson, you've been sitting there watching the tractor and me talking. He sits there and watches me go back and forth. Only one can imagine what's going through his mind. Pushes grandma out of the way though when he can't see it. But let's go get on the tractor like I've done so many times and get you into this food plot so you know that you were right there along with me when we turn this earth. And so let's go get you on the machine. The trick about plowing is that's your furrow. That's where you keep your front tire in. That way when it overlaps, everything will have a good clean fill and a good throw. Plow it deep, it'll cover up the residue. Got to keep that tire in that furrow. So, alright. Let's see how this is going to play out. Sort of hard, but we'll see. Oh, get her in gear, Grandpa. Get right along with the news. Here we go now, walk in. Now we're going to back up and I'll show you how you keep the front tire in that furrow. Yeah, you see that tire riding right in the furrow. That way everything's covered. Well, we got her plowed up. Plowed up fairly good. Moisture's just about right. A lot drier than it was last year. Last year at this time we had 15 inches of rain. This year we had right at 7. So you can see there's quite a disparity in moisture. But that's alright because this is good working dirt. I want to go make a statement on the thing I get asked a lot. I'm going to clear the air on that. And once again, if you don't like it, delete me, defend me. I don't care what you do. People always ask, how many acres do you got? How many acres do you got? Folks, this is not a competition in acreages or how many acres you got. I don't care if you've got 1/8 of an acre and you go out and that's your availability, that's all you got. It's irrelevant. This is not a competition of as men try to gravitate to how big's the antler, how much acreage do you have. I won't answer that because it's irrelevant. The tillage is what I'm trying to get across. Like I said, if you have 1/8 of an acre and you till it up right, you're going to get maximum results. If you have 10 acres and you till it up wrong, you're probably not going. You're going to get miserable results. On my channel, I'm growing things, and I'm trying to show that you out there, I'm not a pro at anything, and I've had people lately tell me that, and that's fine with me. But I've been plowing gardens for the people on the east side of Des Moines that fed their families off those gardens. Before rototillers were invented, they had hoes. And I'd plow and disc their gardens when I was 13 years old with a 48-inch tractor. So I've been doing this for a day or two, regardless of what some book learners think. But what I want to express, it's not how many acres you have. It's what you do with what you've got and be satisfied with that. This is not a competition. I won't go there with acreages. Because if I did, I'd surpass everybody in the field anyway. So, enough said. Take that at its face value. Like I said, you got the power hitting the delete button. But I want to get one thing across to you new beginners. Do with what you got and do the best you can. And don't, you listen to the guy talk gloating about how many acres he got. Don't get caught up in that bullshit. Go out and do what you can do with what you got and be happy with that. far as I'm concerned, plowing that dirt right there, that's my reward. I get rewarded in so many different things. I don't even have to kill anything but time. So let's go down and till up that virgin dirt that's never had a plow in mankind that I know of, where we made that food plot there this spring. Let's go till it up. Okay, you can see that water line on the creek. That's when we had that 2 inches of rain down there the other week. That's how high that was. Now, I gotta get this limb out of the way. The Missouri crossing's still in contact, but we gotta be real careful when we go up there with the plow so we don't get hooked up. So let's get down in there and see how it's gonna happen. Yeah, you can tell that water was way up there. You can see the weeds washed down. The Missouri crossing's still in contact. Well, here we go. Well, gotta adjust the plow. Okay. Now that we're in the middle of the creek, we gotta get up the hill. No problem. Yeah, before we start plowing this plot up, this is the one we cleared off with the new John Deere 319D or E this spring. The star of this video is that Ford 345D. I want to give you a little briefing on it. A grandiose man owned that named Ray Tyler. He passed on. I was fortunate enough to be able to buy that tractor with a box scraper with 250 hours on it at that time. All hydraulic, lift, tilt, everything for $12,000. I want to show you this real implement on this show. Now what you've been watching in this plowing video, I ain't been out here doing this like this. It's been that Ford plow. That plow, 3-bottom plow, that means there's 3 moldboards on it. That plow, I don't know, it's 50 years old if it's a day. And I'm going to show you something real interesting on it. There you go, Ford. Got the serial numbers, the whole 9 yards on it. If I ran those numbers, I could probably crunch what that was. But might have Deb do some research on it. That plow, I bought at auction, 3-bottom plow, $300. It works just as good today. It's got the trips. These mechanically trip out if you hit something solid. Flip the blade up so it doesn't break anything. Back up, it sets it. So let's get doing this food plot. Okay, we were in here right at a month ago and burnt us down, as you can see. And the glyphosate did its job. Roundup for your novices. I ain't no more than a novice. Now, remember up on top when we plowed, we didn't hit any tree roots or stuff. I got the stumps out of here, but we'll probably, if you notice the ground here, and this is the first year, inaugural year of food plotting down here, there's quite a bit of tree residue. And so when I get her plowed up today, I'll probably bring up some more. And then tomorrow I'll come down and hand walk it, hand glean it, throw it off to the side. But so let's get the plow in this. Like I said, this was the plot that we did together way back at 1st of April. And you can see the size of it now as the glyphosate burn it down around the bush. And I sort of wished I'd have took those trees out, but that would have been a tough, with that group like that, that root system would have been astronomical for the size of the machine I had. So they're there. Let's, you know, get a bigger machine. Anyhow, let's get the plowing, get this wrapped up. What I think I'll do is plow both ways. Plow up, plow back, plow up, plow back. Lay out and land that direction instead of plowing it all one way. So figure out how we're going to do that to be the most efficient. Another thing about plowing is it's a hard pull on your machine. So you want to do it when the weather's relevantly cool. You know, in the spring, it's more apropos. Like you get out here, you get in the 90s, you're putting some undue stress on your machinery, and you'll, as far as heat-wise. We're gonna back up here right in front of this camera, and this is the first time man's plowed this ground. Let's get the plowing. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You witnessed it right along with me. The first time that dirt's ever been plowed with a plow. Now we're going to walk up here and I'm going to show you. Remember the field we just left, how clean it was? So it all started off this on the inaugural plowing. This is what you're going to run into. This is why I prefer a moldboard plow over a rototiller. But this would put a rototiller to shame. It would not rototiller this virgin ground. As we walk up through here, we still got our moldboard, the depth, but you can see all this root stuff coming up. That's why if you had a rototiller right here, every time you hit that would stop that rototiller. It would disengage it. It would be going slower than a dead snail, if it would even go. But this was, remember the timber, but here's the residue that I told you would be in there. This is the inaugural plowing. That's why once you get this gleaned out and tilled up a couple years, it'll plow like a flower bed. But that initial one, you're just wasting your time and your money. If you think you're going to come down here, because you're going to run into all this root system, even though you took most of it out, the stumps are out, but the roots are still there. And every time you hit one of them, you're going to shear a shear pin on your rototiller, or it's going to disengage it on your hydraulic, on your skid steer, because it has a slip clutch in it and it'll stop. This is virgin ground and it plowed rough. You can see how clumpy it a little moisture in it, a lot more moisture down here, a little lower ground. But I just wanted to show you what you were up against. That's what was underneath that soil. Now it'll take a couple years of tillage, and I'll have to come down here and glean this by picking this out by hand and throwing it out as it comes up for a couple years. But eventually you'll get it. But this is why I don't rototiller. A lot of guys think, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Mealey, you're an old man and there's new technology. Bullshit. You would run into that stuff and wad it up, and like I said, if you're running it off a PTO, it's going to break the shear pin, and if you're running it off a hydraulic skid steer off the front end, it's going to slip the slip clutch. The moldboard plow, it don't stop. Lesson learned. If you don't like it, hit the delete button. And you notice those discs or cutters, coulters, those little discs in front of the plow, they're right there at the ground level. So is the furrow wheel. So we're getting maximum depth, and won't go any deeper than that. But it's a hard pull. But you ain't gonna break that old Ford plow, that's for sure. They don't make stuff like they used to. If you bought that at a big box store, you'd be crying in your beer right now. It'd be broke. Hey, remember when I told you they had an automatic trip on it? Well, if you had enough, right there the plow would be broke. It pulled up that tree root. Now we're gonna have to get it out and back up and set that plow. This would have stopped your rototiller. gripping device. I think I showed it to you last year. That's so when you do hit that, it doesn't break. I should be able to back up and reset it. Yeah, I'll have to back that up. This is going to get locked back in there, so I have to get on something solider and push on and push the plow backwards. Now you notice that it's back in there, it's locked back, the pin's back. Ford had it figured out a long time ago. But like I said, if that would have been a rototiller, it would have broke the shear pin or it would have shut it off through the slip clutch. Because that's what's in the initial tillage of an inaugural food plot. Another thing, remember that Missouri crossing we crossed? Don't shut your machine off. You see how high that water can get? If that's running when you bring it in, keep it running while it's there. That way you can drive it out. Took about an hour and a half to plow this up. Never hit one stump because we took those out, but we hit many tree roots, and that'll happen on the inaugural tillage of the ground. Can you imagine doing that with a horse? Our forefathers did it. Might have been a tough go. If all you have is a rototiller, be prepared to have it tested to the max. Because when you get in areas like this with these tree roots, and we'll walk over here, you'll see what I'm talking about. Is you're going to shear pins, like I said earlier. Even with the one I could rent to put on the front of the skid steer, it's going to kick the slip clutch out, because as soon as that comes up against X amount of resistance, it quits rototiller. If that's all you got, then that's what you're going to have to fight the war with, but you're going to have a hard fight. That's why I run the Mobile plow to offset that. Now up in the other fields that we already gleaned over the years, hey, a rototiller would work fine. But when you're going into the bush, breaking ground for the first time, and you're trying to till that ground, your rototiller is going to be put to the test. Chances are you're going to break it, more than likely. Now let's walk over here and I'll show you some of this tree roots, not tree stumps now, keep that in mind. We took the stumps out, but as you can see across here, you still got a lot of roots in there. Now that's been that way every time we open one of these timber bush plots up, is you're going to drag up the root system. Fortunately, we didn't hit any stumps because we bulldozed those out. But you can see all those were brought to the surface. They'll have to be hand gleaned. It don't take that long. I'll be down there tomorrow morning picking and throwing, bring my mattocks, chopping, throwing them out. But every one of those that you see right there would be a potential breakdown. You get over this side over here, yeah, you broke down. Your shear pin's sheared on your rototiller. And then up in here there was an extensive amount of root system. So I don't want to sound like I say, use what you got, but I'm just showing you what you're going to run into. And the way I get around it, I mean, that's just tree roots galore right there. Oh, I mean, you would definitely, your rototiller wouldn't even, it wouldn't work in there, period. There's no cutting around it. But if you get in glean soil like we were up on top, you're okay. But just be prepared if you get into these areas like this, what's in store for you. And I'm just glad to be able to bring that to your attention. I'm not gloating about it. But that 3-bottom plow, or even a 2-bottom plow, is the best way to go because they're almost indestructible. And it's not no power takeoff driven, so you're not going to break any gears or shear pins. Well, we got her plowed, and that's about it for today. We'll let it air out. This is a little more moist down here, but you've seen it from the first tree we took out to the plowing of it, and hopefully you'll see something alive on it someday. But, lots of steps, lots of steps. It's not quite as easy as what you see on these TV shows. One pass and done. Anyhow, I haven't found it that way. Well, that's enough rambling from the non-typical, non-walking, plowing, and the pros and the cons. So, next step, we'll try to disc it up and get it seated.